So you already made and are basically using Laravel DevStream. That's perfectly fine. Once again, don't worry about the quantity of components. You don't need to understand every single one of them. During the process of this course, we are going to explore one of them. We are going to take advantage of those in the following class. In fact, we are going to do that and during the following classes as well. But in the meanwhile, you can explore and take your time for that. Don't worry. During the following projects, during the following classes, practices, or from your own experiences, you're going to get much more familiar with all of the Laravel JetStream components. Of course, there are a lot of things that you can cover, so don't get overwhelmed and just take care of the components that you need, nothing else. So this time we are going to focus on using Tailwind CSS, and for that we are going to start organizing the look and feel of our actual portfolio because, well, we are not going to show just a welcome view again. So for that, let's explore just a little bit the documentation. As you may imagine, Tailwind CSS is a lot of information that you can use, a lot of capabilities, but well, you can just use the quick search and search, hey, how can I set a background? So you can search background size, background repeat, background position, or you can check even background colors and something else. And you can see some familiar things here. As you can see, background gray, background zinc, background stone, orange, amber, yellow. You have a lot of possibilities. We are just using one of those in our configuration file from our previous class. And you can do basically the same. Search again, hey, how can I use flex or something like that? Once again, flex is to basically distribute or decide how you're going to distribute different components in your views. So you can validate all of that. You have examples, you have colors, you have everything that you need. So once again, this is just a matter of time. Take your time to practice, take your time to search the documentation, to verify. And of course, the best way to do that is creating things from scratch as we are doing here in this course. So let's imagine that for our portfolio, we are going to have different sections. So we are going to specify the margins, the padding, the positioning, the background colors. And for that, once again, hey, can I say a margin? So margin. Okay, we have a section for margins. We have margin top, margin left, margin the x-axis. It means in the right and in the left. And the same for the top and the bottom, and so on. So you can validate all of that and play with it. Don't worry, it's just a matter of time. Probably you can feel a little overwhelmed, as I said, but don't worry, just practice. Just go ahead, follow the lead, and you are going to be fine. You, in a matter of time, in a matter of a few practices, you are going to be familiar with margins, paddings, rounding, backgrounds, and so on. So let's start. Let's go to our welcome view we have from the previous class, and we are going to have different sections. We are going to have a section for the top navbar, let's say. Then we are going to have another section for our skills, and we are going to continue basically the same for the projects. And finally, we are going to have a footer. Perfect. Now, if we go back, once again, be sure that you have npm run watch here running and compiling everything for you. We can go back here and verify that, well, there is nothing different here. In fact, we are going to have an empty view. No worries, we are going to start adding some colors, some little text to that. So let's just start with the top of our content. So we are going to have something saying, hey, this is me. For example, Juan is my name, or you can use your own name or whatever you prefer to make your representation. So let's go that and do it. In the top section, we are going to have a paragraph. And this is going to say something, hey, this is Juan. I'm a software engineer. You can even go a little deeper with that. I'm a senior software engineer, if you are, of course. And I will be glad to work with you. So this is basically our presentation. This is just an initial thing. And inside of all of our sections, we are going to have here, for example, an H2 for the skills. And we're going to have something similar for the projects. So let's do copy and paste it here. Projects. And in the bottom, we are going to have a set of links with our social media and additionally a paragraph with, for example, our signature. So let's say something like a copyright You can use here your username, your legal name, or something like that. We are just checking out, and this is all rights reserved. And of course, here we are going to put GitHub, Twitter, and finally, for example, Stack Overflow. Of course, you can use anything that you need. We are just going to be polishing all of these class by class. So we have an initial structure, no styles yet. We are not using Tailwind yet, but we are going to start creating some colorings and stuff for this. So once we have this is basically the text that we are going to be using. So let's just start with the top section and say this is going to cover all this entire screen with a specific background. So for that, we can go and specify the styles, the classes for this section. So we are going to have many of them. So let's use it in a different line. And we're going to start saying that the background color is going to be gray. And we have a, let's say, intensity of the color. So this is going to be pretty intense. So we are going to use 800. The numbers for the backgrounds are going to vary from 50 to 900. So you can imagine the variety of intensity that you can use. Then after that, let's copy this in different lines to keep it a little better. And we are going to have a padding in the top. So we have padding top of 16, a pretty big one. And we are going to say that the height of this component is going to use the entire screen. So we use H screen. We have some helpers here, and we are going to have a padding in the right and in the left of 72. So if we go back here, we can refresh. Remember that npm run watch is taking care of compiling everything for us. You can see we have a great background taking all the height of our screen, and we have the text here and of course the other components. So you can see how everything is working, but of course we need to take care of our text now. So let's go back there. And in the case of the text, well, we are going to specify different classes as well. We can specify the styling for every specific component. So let's do this once again. We are going to use a different lines here, and here it is. So we have a border in the bottom of 2. Once again, if you know what are the utilities for border, go to the documentation and search for border. In this case, we are saying that the gross, or basically the intensity of this border, is of 2, not the regular one, and it is going to be in the bottom. Then we're going to use this in bold. So we have font bold, there you have, with a border gray. So we are defining the color of the border, but this time this is going to be a little light. So we are going to use 400. We're going to have a padding in the bottom of 3, and we are going to specify the size of the text, which is going to be 2XL. Then we have the color of the text. It's going to be gray of 300. And finally, we're going to say that this is going to be uppercase. So if we go back here once again and refresh, there you have. But let's remove this extra space that we have here and define a little better the distribution for the following content that we will have in following classes. So let's go back to our project, and there we are going to create a div here. There we have, and we are going to move this paragraph inside this specific div. So let's create here the space, move it this line, and here we have, let's remove this line. And now we are going to add some classes here for this specific div. So the first thing is that we are going to have, of course, this in the class is going to be that we are going to take care of only the 2 third parts of the height of the component. And additionally, we're going to flex the distribution here using, of course, flex, and we're going to create a space around this component using flex wrap, as you can see here. Then we are going to specify some styling of the spacing that we can use. So we will have the content between, essentially we create elements after this paragraph that we have here, that we will do. The content is going to be distributed evenly in the space between those elements. And finally, we are going to have a background, or basically a padding, in the bottom of 36 to leave enough space in the bottom of this. You are not going to see a lot of this part, not after we add some components later, but essentially we are going to resolve the problem with this extra space here that we have in the right side of our text. So perfect. We are just taking the corresponding space. This is basically using flex. And let's go now faster to define the styling for our corresponding sections for skills and for product. So I'm going to do basically the same here. We are going to have a class which is going to be equals to this, and we are going to have a background here. Let's start with skills, a background gray of 200. So this is going to be a light gray, and we are going to have a text in gray. But of course, for the contrast, it's going to be a bigger one, 800. Then we are going to have a padding X of 72 and a padding Y of 10, top and bottom. And we are going to take again the entire screen, as you can see here. And we are going to do basically the same in the case of projects. So let's paste it here. But of course, we are going to use a different background. This is going to be a background of 600 and the text is going to be 200. The padding in the top and the right, the left, and the head are going to be exactly the same. So we are going to see some patterns here repeating here. No worries, we are going to take care of that later. And finally, in the case of the bottom, basically the footer, we are going to have this section with a set of styles. So we have here again a class is to leave some spaces here. So we have flex to define the corresponding distribution. This is going to be justified between, once again, to separate the components evenly. We have now a padding in the top and the bottom of 10, in the right and the left of 32. Similarly for the other components, the background is going to be on gray of 800 and the text is going to be so of a gray of 300. Then we are going to have the text a little bigger using XL, text XL. And finally here in the paragraph, we are not going to change nothing because we are getting these styles coming from here. But in the case of the list of elements, we are going to use once again a flex, justify evenly the components between this, and we are going to say that the items should be in the center. Perfect. So we are going to see the magic that we just have done. Let's do refresh here. So we have the header taking the full space of the screen, but if we go back, you can see here skills taking the full height of our screen, the same for the projects. And of course, you can see here we have the bottom with the corresponding elements for our social media. Now, let's take care a little of the titles of the skills and the projects just to finish. So let's go back here. And in the H2, we are going to add a class. Now, the text is going to be bigger, so we are going to use text 6XL. Perfect. This is going to be in bold, so we have font bold, and we are going to have a padding in the top of 3. And essentially, we are going to do the same in the case of project. So we have class, we paste it here, the same size, the same bold, and the same padding top. So let's go here, refresh, and there you have even better skills, projects, and of course we have the top here. So that's all. At this point, we already explored an interesting set of classes of Tailwind using an immersive method to learn this. So we learned about background, the color of the text, the margins, the paddings, the size of the text, the distribution using flex, and so on. So remember, if you don't have this clear, go and check the documentation. If it is not getting clear even then after that, so go and send me any question. I'm going to be there to make that clearer for you. Remember, again, this is just a matter of time to take care of checking one by one the components, playing around, saving, refreshing, and verifying. Designing is going to take a lot of time. It is a perfectly normal situation, and you are going to be fine learning all of this. So let's continue in the following class to meet a new component, another component of our VILT stack, which is of course view and inertia. See you there.